The new Crash Bandicoot is not messing around. I am genuinely surprised. I want to talk about some of the things I like about it. I've been playing a review copy for a while now, and I have a lot to say, because this thing kind of is kicking ass in a couple of departments, and sometimes kind of literally. So, my perspective with Crash, I grew up with the series. The original Crash, I was a PlayStation kid, I got a PlayStation. The original Crash was like my first introduction to 3D gameplay, and like my feeble little brain trained on Nintendo games couldn't really grasp it, and I was terrible at these games because the depth thing just freaked me out. But still, I persevered and I loved all of them. And then after Crash 1, 2, and 3 and Bash and Crash Team Racing, I dropped off. I didn't really like where the series went. As I became a PS2 gamer, I wanted to play more games where you kill people. Genuinely, I just didn't like what Universal decided to do with it, and then the shift to Activision and just all of that stuff. It became the series that it didn't identify the same way as it used to for me, so I kind of moved on and forgot about it. Then last year, of course, the Insane Trilogy was really well done, but still, with this game being an all-new Activision Crash game, I was like so skeptical because Crash looked a little different, the art style was a little weirder and different, and I was like, oh no, are we getting another one of these? Is this like another one of those weird zany Crash games where they give him tattoos or something? Sorry, I know like the younger generations like those games, but dude. But I was immediately blown away because, like, right away with the story setup, the whole thing, the fact that it's called Crash 4, it's about time, is acknowledging after Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped, and then none of those other games matter. They're kind of pulling like a Halloween thing with the last Halloween movie where they ditched all the sequels and they're like, no, this is a sequel to the original Halloween. Like a weird retconning thing that I was super about, and this game literally kicks off right after Warped, with the ramifications of Warped and the villains of Warped and all these things going on, and like right out of the gate I was like, holy shit, they're doing this, they're going for this, huh? Not only that, but you have all these old returning things, like old scenarios, old characters, some old fan favorites, like for me, Dingodile, who you can then even play as. Tawna shows up, but like a different dimension version. You even get a glimpse at some of the alien creatures from CTR. They are just like an alien race in the game. Like, there's so much attention to the detail of like the weird Crash shit that everybody kind of forgot about from those first 3 games that I really appreciate here. Same thing with the gameplay. The gameplay is where it's not messing around, because although it does feel a twinkle bit different than like the perfect one-to-one that was the Insane Trilogy, it still feels great. You're sliding, you're jumping, but the new spin zone things don't feel like gimmicks. They actually feel pretty legit and add a good substantial change, and like you kind of have to break your Crash Bandicoot brain to learn these new things, but I think that they're really good. Like the new masks I think are good. They don't feel like gimmicks, they feel like meaningful, substantial spins on gameplay that refreshes the formula in a way that kind of takes the things you know and you're still doing those things, but you're doing them differently. Does that make sense? And then they just freshened up and remixed some other things, like you're still running towards the screen, running from things, but it's just so much more fun and dynamic and exciting now. There's more ramps, there's jumps, there's perspective shifts, there's camera changes. Crash is really like alive here, where you see his facial expression even more than in the original games, which at the time was revolutionary, but now you see Crash really worried and you hear him like, ha, 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 and like that just really sells it. Oh no! I didn't hit record. No. They also brought back the rolling ball from Cortex Strikes Back, another Crash game that I wasn't crazy about, but still, for example too, like you're riding on a polar bear once again, but now it's a little bit of a different scene. It's a little bit more of like a chase type thing. You're still riding the motorized surfboard thing, but there's new gameplay mechanics, new level variations introduced to that. Even the enemies themselves that you encounter still come down to the same thing. Usually it's a timing thing, or is it, do you slide to hit them? Do you have to jump on their head? Do you have to spin them? They still all kind of have that, but these new enemies look really cool, and figuring out which one needs to be taken out a certain way still works for me, and I still found it to be really fun. But it's those little details that I really appreciate, like just the way Crash looks, the way he animates, the way him and Coco animate, because they play relatively the same. The way they animate through a level, whether it's they're swinging on a pole or they're doing the wall run maneuvers, which are actually really seamless and fit in really well to actually using the mask powers. All of it is incredibly detailed, and the way they look and the expression contrasted with the actual big world and just the sense of scale and detail to it all just like really freaking works for me. Couple that with the music, which very much understands where it's coming from and keeps in line with the original thing, but the new masks kind of change that up. And when you switch and toggle on the masks, because the masks are very much like on-off type of abilities, it changes the music in little quirky ways, and I'm a sucker for little things like that. Even down to like when you finish a mission and then there's a screen where Crash is standing here and you can select continue or replay the mission. And when you highlight each one, Crash does this like beautiful, smooth, hilarious animation. Just stuff like that. As someone who loves cartoons, who loves animated things, who loves the original Crash games, I just really appreciate the detail there. There's an emphasis on replayability, similar to the old Crash games with time trials and getting all the crates and stuff like that, but kind of an added level, and you're trying to get skins. I really hope Activision doesn't screw anything up down the line with this like they did CTR and piss people off. But as a Crash fan, as a platformer fan, I think this is probably one of the best platformers of the year, especially like a mainstream AAA one, because those aren't really a thing, but I think this one is really good. Not to mention the fact that it is incredibly challenging. That is the other place. This game is not messing around. I used the word fun. I said a lot of things about it were fun, a lot of things were creative, but the other half of the fun was having this game kick my ass. Just banging your head about against this game and replaying things over and over and over and over and figuring out the exact right obsessive pattern to do something. Jump, slide, dodge, change your mask, like all these things really, really just made me kind of addicted to my playthrough, and it was a tough playthrough at times. I'm not really good at video games. I know people are like, haha, all game journalists are bad, you're pulling that. I'm not even a game journalist, but the challenge is good here. I think it's worth bringing up and discussing because there's a balance to it. It's not bullshit hard, fake challenge. It's real, genuine skill, difficulty stuff, but there's a balance to it with some accessibility as well. Like, the game defaults on a kind of jump indicator. If you're up in the air, there's a little shadow circle marker that shows where your character is going to land. And if you played that like crazy bridge level from the Insane Trilogy, you know how helpful this can be. It's also weird and jarring, especially for your purists. You can turn it off, but I think it's good for less experienced players. There's also like, you could choose like this regular new continue mode, or you can choose retro mode, which is lives based. I played that way, I enjoyed that, but the fact that you have both options for either type of player is good, because honestly, this game is a ride. The scenery, the big action moments, the boss battles, all the things that go down, like the people who made it probably want everyone to see it, and like you definitely have to work for accessibility or not, but still, I think it's rewarding. Really what I'm trying to say, like, yes, I recommend this game. I'm actually surprised. I was a little skeptical. I think this game is a great time, but also I think it just hit at a right time. There's things going on in the world. One might argue that some things suck. In all seriousness, I think it's good to have something like this. At least for me at this time, it's good. We needed a game like this, a fun, lighthearted, cartoon-style platformer with a dash of nostalgia and a barrel full of creativity and color and excitement. Yeah, thank you, Crash 4. That's it, rant over. I just like talking about things that I enjoy. So if you appreciated that, thank you for clicking on my face. Could have clicked on anyone else, but you did to me. Thank you. Clicking that like button does help me, legit. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments too. If you were jumping into this game today, maybe you played that demo. I think there was a demo. What are you thinking? Are you going to wait until a price drop? I do understand, of course. I definitely think you shouldn't miss this game whenever you play it. Of course, there's no timer on this type of thing, but let me know what you're thinking about Crash 4. It's about time. I want to hear from you. Subscribing, I put out a video like once a week now. I've gotten on a better roll. If you want to click that notification bell so you don't miss any videos I make, I promise I'm going to work to make them all pretty good. I don't spam you. I don't put out too many videos, but thank you guys for watching. I'm Jake Baldino. You can subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.